Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. Today is, let's do the whole darn weekend. Saturday, March the 30th, is Take a Walk in the Park Day, National I'm in Control Day, National Doctor's Day, National Pencil Day, National Turkey Neck Soup Day. Ew.
Yeah.
It's also National Virtual Vacation Day. Then Sunday, March the 31st, National Crayon Day, National Tater Day, Bunsen Burner Day, Clams on the Half Shell Day, and National Prom Day.
Aww.
All of that stuff going on this weekend. And I've got a guest. I'm actually excited to chat with our guest, Matti Friedman. He is the author of a book called SPIES of No Country, Secret Lives at the Birth of Israel. So it's like a secret society, spies and stuff that helped to create Israel and make it what it is. And in visiting with him ahead of time, he was talking about how they didn't even have like a camera, so their spies had to borrow stuff. It's actually pretty fascinating. So looking forward to chatting with Matti Friedman. It's all on the way. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Do you have a pretty good sense of humor? You might like this. Early in the morning each day and every day, we share something weird to make people laugh at weirdgiftoftheday.com. You don't need to sign up for anything. You don't even need to spend a penny. Just follow the page on Facebook and get a smile to start each day when we share the weird gift of the day. Not on Facebook? That's okay. You can see the weird gifts on our website too. weirdgiftoftheday.com. That's weirdgiftoftheday.com.
Now, surveys and studies and such brought to you by bettercreditcards.net. A Newsbuster survey found that the media spent an average of 3 minutes per night on the Russian collusion story every single night for 791 straight days. What are they going to talk about now?
Mm-hmm. How did that work out for him?
I don't know.
Not well.
Newsbusters, thank you for doing what you do, and I have a link to that story if you want to read all about it. We don't talk politics here, so that's where we're going to end things.
I?
No, you can't.
No.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show this weekend.
Is your credit card a good fit for you? How did you even get the card you have now? Was it mailed to you? Those are usually the worst cards. They typically have higher fees and rates. Someone has to pay all that postage to mail out millions of cards every day. If you like a better credit card, check out the website bettercreditcards.net. This is a great place to find the cards that are usually a better fit for you. bettercreditcards.net. That's bettercreditcards.net.
And this is your brain on drugs, brought to you by Time4Rehab.com. In Florida, a guy by the name of Mr. Perfect is in jail for battering a female victim. Well, that's not good. 45-year-old Dwayne Zimmerman was intoxicated when he insulted a victim who was on the porch of Zimmerman's mobile home preparing to make pancakes for dinner. I'm not sure who
on
was...
the porch making pancakes?
Says,
Just say he was on the porch making pancakes?
Apparently.
On the porch of a mobile home.
Making pancakes. So here we go. Cops say after he flung a cooking pan, he picked up a bowl filled with batter and threw it at the victim. So he literally battered her with pancake batter.
Okay.
Shattered the bowl and its contents in the woman's hair, all over her clothing. So it's not funny. It's a bad thing. Don't do this kind of thing. He was booked and remains in lockup in lieu of a $2,000 bond.
It is funny because who makes pancakes on the porch of a mobile home?
I've never done that. That's an interesting way to do it. Maybe it was too warm inside and they didn't want him. I don't know. I'm not sure. I've got a link to the story if you want to know all about it. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Now, big screen, little screen, brought to you by ChannelSurferTV.com. Revised box office numbers from last weekend show that Us, that was the biggest movie last weekend, brought in $70 million during last weekend, its opening weekend. So they had a very good weekend last weekend. Maybe they'll do well again this weekend. Barbra Streisand now says she is, quote, profoundly sorry for defending Michael Jackson's abuse of children.
Whatever.
So she came out and said they knew what they were doing, and she was defending it.
And they were happy to be there.
And then she came out later.
He had needs.
After losing a lot of respect from a lot of people, she came out later and said, I'm really sorry for what I said.
I'm sure her agent said,
now
you have
that
to
I
apologize.
thought this through. Wendy Williams is in the news. She was seen without her wedding ring, and they say it's a sign that she may be separating from her husband. And for those of you who think this is a really important story, seek help immediately. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Here's a fun trip back to the 80s.
Surely you can't be serious.
Join us in Las Vegas for 80s in the Desert May 3rd and 4th. Hang out with other 80s fans.
International language of love.
Meet several 80s icons from the movies and rock out to awesome music from the 80s. Flock of Seagulls, The Romantics, Mr. Mister, Scandal with Patti Smythe, Thomas Dolby, Pretty Poison, and more. See the full list of bands and icons at radiotravelgroup.com. That's radiotravelgroup.com.
Now your scoop of the day, brought to you by BetterCreditCards.net. Saudi Arabia is on pace to set a record for public executions this year, with 172 executions scheduled between now and December. Holy cow. That's a lot between now and December. 172. So I'm not sure what people are doing over there to get publicly executed, but that's no good. A video has gone viral of a Viking cruise ship. Oh, did you see this? This was last week. It made me sick to just watch it. It was turning on its side and then sending furniture sliding all over the place. 400 people had to be removed from the boat by helicopter. You didn't see that?
I didn't see it.
It was a cruise ship, and everybody that was commenting on there kept saying, this is why I don't go on cruises.
Right.
But here's the thing. It went viral because this is very rare.
No, I mean, I saw one a few years ago, so it does happen quite a bit.
But there are cruises, like 1,000 cruises every day.
Even on smooth seas, if you're susceptible to seasickness, you're going to get sick on a cruise.
I've never been on a cruise. I would like to go, and I just don't want it to be one of these. It had to be airlifted to safety. That's not good. A California couple were surprised when they woke up and found a drunk burglar suspect asleep in bed with them.
That happens so often.
It's
Not
crazy.
Usually in bed with them, like usually on the couch,
Yeah.
but still.
The couple called the police. They ran out of their home and watched officers arrest the man who was still sleeping in their bed despite all the police sirens and all the commotion.
Wow.
So the dude was snoozing.
He
pretty
was
darn-
out.
Well, when I say snoozing, he was passed out. I mean, when you're passed out, there can be a lot of stuff going on. I remember in my younger days, there was a guy who made the mistake of drinking too much at a party and being the first one to pass out. And boy, oh boy, was that a bad idea for him. They painted his face blue with, remember back in the 80s and 90s, the blue eyeliner, what do they call that stuff? Mascara. Remember they used to wear blue mascara? This guy's face was painted blue with mascara, and they shaved his eyebrows off. And I say they because I had nothing to do with that. I got to give him a ride home, and he looked like a Smurf. So yeah, you don't want to ever fall asleep if you've been drinking. And I'm assuming that's why this guy slept through all the sirens. He was passed out, dead cold. Heidi, quit talking. What's going on over there?
Nothing.
Okay.
I was just thinking about a sleepover when I was a kid, but I'll tell you about it off air.
Oh, that's always scary. A new $50 million esports arena will be built this summer in Philadelphia. The upcoming Fusion Arena will feature 3,500 seats, making it the largest of its kind in the Western Hemisphere. 3,500 seats? You wouldn't think... Okay, we'll read the rest of it here. The arena's seating area will include 2 balconies, bars, club seats, and exclusive suites. Nearly 10,000 square feet will be dedicated to a training facility, broadcast studio, and team offices. I wonder if it's 35,000 seats. 3,500 seats doesn't sound like...
Doesn't seem like enough.
Yeah, I don't have a link to check that, but I'll bet. I'll do some looking, and then I'll correct it in the show notes if I'm wrong with the 3,500. I'll bet it's 35,000 because that can't be a record. And then one last story here. Justin Bieber is being blamed for causing environmental destruction in Iceland. In 2015, he did a video called I'll Show You, and it led to a boost in tourism at a sacred canyon. The canyon is called, I'm going to spell it because there's no way I could pronounce it, Fjaorrglujufur. It's a big, long Icelandic word. Anyway, there hadn't been a lot of tourism there, so then the Biebs goes and shoots a video there, and now all of a sudden it's a huge tourist attraction, and they're blaming Justin Bieber for all of the damage that's been done and all of the extra body heat that's like melting this thing and causing all the problems, and it's Bieber's fault. Here's the thing. If they could throw him in prison, I'm on board for this.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. I don't dislike Justin Bieber that much. I'm just being silly. I have a link to the story if you want to see the word and get all the details, and also double-check my numbers on the last story. All of that in the show notes at johnandheidishow.com.
Do you have IRS tax problems? Are they keeping you up at night? Afraid to open your own mail or even answer your telephone? If your tax problems are affecting your family life, you need to know you have options. You have rights, and we'll make sure you get them. Call and speak with Mike Habib, the tax expert who will handle your case at 877-78-TAXES or online at myirs.taxrelief.com. That's 877-78-TAXES or myiRSTaxRelief.com.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We've got a special guest joining us now all the way from Jerusalem. We have Matti Friedman, author of a new book called Spies of No Country, Secret Lives at the Birth of Israel. Matti, how are you?
I'm fine. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
We're excited to visit with you. Let's talk about your new book, Spies of No Country.
It describes the strange adventures of four of Israel's first spies around 1948, which is the year of Israel's War of Independence and the creation of the State of Israel. It's a story that very few people know. It's a story that I didn't know before I started researching it a couple years ago.
How is it that you got interested in this particular topic?
As a journalist here for about 20 years, I've always been looking for peripheral stories that people have overlooked but would say something big about this place and I hope also about the human experience in general. I wrote a book about a Bible manuscript that has an interesting story. I wrote a book about a small army outpost that has an interesting story. And now I found these four spies who are very young men in their early 20s, all of them Jews who were native to Arab countries, grew up speaking Arabic, and then they become part of the Zionist movement, which is trying to create a Jewish state here. And they're recruited by a very early version of the Israeli intelligence services. So today, Israel's intelligence services tend to have a real mystique about them. The Mossad is a name that people have heard, but in those days, before 1948, before the creation of the state, it was an incredibly amateur, ad hoc, seat-of-the-pants operation. We're talking about a unit of about a dozen guys who were untrained, who didn't have the necessary equipment, and they were sent out into the storm of events in 1948. Many of them didn't survive, and this is really the first time that their story has been told in English.
It sounds fascinating. How long did it take to research all this?
My first interview for this book in 2011, which is 8 years ago, I was introduced to a very old spy, someone who I know recommended that I meet a friend of his who is a kind of ex-intelligence man, almost 90 years old, and as I write in the book, I've learned as a journalist that if someone offers to introduce you to an old spy, you should go, even if you don't know why you're going. So I went to meet a man named Isaac Shoshan, and he told me a story about the founding of the state and about a few of his friends in this small intelligence unit called the Arab Section. And it was a story I'd never heard before, and it kind of threw a new kind of light on the story of the founding of Israel in 1948, and I found that it also taught me a lot about the modern-day state of Israel that I live in 2019. We tend to tell very European stories about this country, so we know about the early Zionist movement and Theodor Herzl in Vienna and pogroms in Europe and the socialist idea, the kibbutz idea, and the Holocaust, of course. But half of the Jewish people who live in Israel are actually from the Islamic world. They come from places like Aleppo, Casablanca, Baghdad. Baghdad was 1/3 Jewish in the 1940s. There was about 1 million Jews native to the Islamic world in the 1940s. Most of them left and became part of Israel. And that's a big part of Israel's story, but it's not reflected in stories about the country that most people know. So one thing that this book is, beyond a spy yarn, beyond a good spy yarn, I hope, is an attempt to look at that side of Israeli society that hasn't received enough attention.
As you were doing the research, what was maybe the most shocking or surprising thing?
I was surprised at how unprepared they were. These guys, not only was there no spy school at the time, there was no doctrine, they were making it up as they went along. They didn't even have a camera at first. When they needed to use a camera, they had to borrow a camera from a guy they knew who had a camera. When they were sent into the Arab world to Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, to set up what became Israel's first intelligence station, they had no radio. They had no way to communicate with headquarters. They had no idea in the spring of 1948 if the state of Israel had survived the invasion of 5 Arab armies or if they were somehow holding out. They had no way to communicate. So the bare-bones nature of the operation was a real shock to someone who lives in Israel in 2019 and is used to the idea that we have competent intelligence services and a competent military. At the time, none of that was true. It was all being made up, as they went along. I was also surprised by a few of the stories that I found. That there's a pretty interesting operation that they carry out in the fall of 1948. It's actually Israel's first real sabotage operation beyond its borders, which is an attempt to sink a small warship that had belonged to Adolf Hitler, Hitler's yacht, which shows up in the port of Beirut in the fall of 1948, and the Israelis decide to sink it. And the Arab section is in the heart of this very early operation. And that's just one of the many stories, none of which I'd heard before I started doing my own research into it.
Sounds fascinating. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Again, our guest has been Matti Friedman. The book is Spies of No Country, Secret Lives at the Birth of Israel. It's available now. I have a link to it in the show notes at johnandheidishow.com.
Is your credit card a good fit for you? How did you even get the card you have now? Was it mailed to you? Those are usually the worst cards. They typically have higher fees and rates. Someone has to pay all that postage to mail out millions of cards every day. If you like a better credit card, check out the website bettercreditcards.net. This is a great place to find the cards that are usually a better fit for you. Bettercreditcards.net. That's bettercreditcards.net.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Did you know that we've had several of these now. The FDA says it's okay to have a little bit of rodent hair in your pasta?
Yeah, I
These
remember
are so
that
disgusting.
story.
So it says 16-ounce box of pasta is legally allowed to contain at least 9 rodent hairs. So next time you're going to have some fettuccine or some spaghetti or bow tie pasta, any sort of pasta, you might want to just double check and scrape all the rodent hairs out first. Ugh.
Oh, you wouldn't even notice. Honestly, you wouldn't even know.
Probably not. It's another fun fact. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Here's a fun trip back to the 80s.
Surely you can't be serious.
Join us in Las Vegas for 80s in the Desert May 3rd and 4th. Hang out with other 80s bands.
International language of love.
Meet several 80s icons from the movies and rock out to awesome music from the 80s. Flock of Seagulls, The Romantics, Mr. Scandal with Patti Smythe, Thomas Dolby, Pretty Poison, and more. See the full list of bands and icons at radiotravelgroup.com. That's radiotravelgroup.com.
Now, fear this. Time for fun with phobias. Photophobia. P-H-O-T-O-P-H-O-B-I-A. Photophobia. What do you think it is?
Fear of having your photo taken.
No. Fear of light. Fear of light.
Photosynthesis.
Yes.
All right.
Fear of light. So if you're a
That
gremlin.
one makes sense.
If you're a gremlin, that's a good thing to have because
Yeah.
sunlight will kill you if you're a gremlin. If not, you probably need some sunlight. This has been fun with phobias. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Do you have a pretty good sense of humor? You might like this. Early in the morning each day and every day, we share something weird to make people laugh at weirdgiftoftheday.com. You don't need to sign up for anything. You don't even need to spend a penny. Just follow the page on Facebook and get a smile to start each day when we share the weird gift of the day. Not on Facebook? That's okay. You can see the weird gifts on our website too. weirdgiftoftheday.com. That's weirdgiftoftheday.com.
Now some weird news brought to you by weirdgiftoftheday.com. A naked man has reportedly been arrested in Moscow after trying to board a plane while shouting about how clothes make him less agile and aerodynamic. Eyewitnesses said this would-be passenger passed through the checks at the Domodedovo airport before suddenly taking off all of his clothing and then running out of the jet bridge, which connects to the airport terminal to the plane. A witness told Russian channel REN TV he shouted that he was naked because clothing impairs the aerodynamics of the body. He flies with more agility when he's undressed. Airport staff prevented the man from boarding the flight to Crimea. He was later detained by police officers. A video released after the man's arrest showed him sitting on the ground, still naked by the way, surrounded by police officers. So, what in the world was going on there? That is one crazy story, and that's why we call it today's Weird News. Brought to you by weirdgiftoftheday.com. Now your moment of duh, brought to you by FunkyMonkeyShirts.com. An Idaho Falls man was arrested March 8th after he allegedly demanded money from a car rental company if they want the car returned. Well, that's not good. 36-year-old Daniel Porter was charged with grand theft for possessing a stolen 2018 GMC Yukon.
Yeah, that's a really bad idea.
Estimated value of $48,424. And it says here he wasn't going to return it unless they gave him some dough. They called this guy saying, hey, we need you to return that. He goes, yeah, I'll do it, but, what's in it for me? So this is why it's our moment of duh. It was rented by his sister. The sister rented the thing February 27th. She didn't return it the next day like she was supposed to. She left Porter's number as her contact, so they call the number, and that's him. And he's going, I didn't rent it, but it's mine now. If you want it, what you going to give me for it? So this is the dumbest dumb part. You don't put yourself in this situation when you're doing what he's doing. When they got there, they found drug paraphernalia in the car. He's been charged with grand theft, punishable for up to 10 years in prison. Also drug possession, punishable for another year in jail. So not the smartest thing to do when you're carrying drugs, dummy. Why in the world? That's why it's today's...
Porter, that's a cool name.
It is a cool name, but he's not a cool dude. That's today's moment of duh.
Is your credit card a good fit for you? How did you even get the card you have now? Was it mailed to you? Those are usually the worst cards. They typically have higher fees and rates. Someone has to pay all that postage to mail out millions of cards every day. If you like a better credit card, check out the website bettercreditcards.net. This is a great place to find the cards that are usually a better fit for you. bettercreditcards.net. That's bettercreditcards.net.
Now, these three things. Heidi, tell me, what do these three things have in common? I'm almost positive you're not going to get this right.
Okay.
All right. Raffer Johnson, R-A-F-E-R, Raffer Johnson.
Who that is.
Dan O'Brien.
Don't know who that is.
And Bruce Jenner.
Okay.
Okay. So not the most recent thing Bruce Jenner's known for, but what was he known for before that? No. Gold medal winning decathletes. So I figured you probably wouldn't get that.
That's a run.
Yeah,
So for running. They're all known for running.
So I should give you points for...
Absolutely you should. They're all known for running.
Gold... That's different. No. Okay.
They're all runners.
Heidi gets it.
Yes, they are.
Heidi gets it. They're all runners.
Yes, they are.
They're all gold medal winning decathlete runners.
Okay, so they're still all runners.
You get it. I give you. You get credit for it.
Okay.
These three things. That's a wimpy excuse for a game there. These three things on the John and Heidi Show. This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always like to wrap things up around here with good news, and I think this is good news. It comes your way courtesy of radiotravelgroup.com. And I'm excited for the big event that's coming up in Las Vegas. It's a little over a month away.
I am so excited.
May 3rd and 4th, and it's an event. It's like an awesome 80s weekend kind of thing. And if you want all the details, there is a link at radiotravelgroup.com. You ready for some good news?
Ready.
Here's the headline. Canadian man who filled in pesky pothole has been tipped in coffee and cash and even cannabis, which, it's legal there, so that's all cool. So take a listen to this story. This time of year, there are a lot of people complaining about potholes, right? So there's one guy that decided, I am going to do something about it. 22-year-old, he's kind of become a bit of a folk hero to some people in Canada after he spent several days temporarily filling in some treacherous potholes. John McHugh was inspired to patch up some of the road hazards in Stellarton, Nova Scotia, when he and his mother drove over a particularly nasty pothole, and he heard all the damage it was done to her vehicle. He's like, that's not good. So it was a couple weeks back, hit a huge pothole. Rather than waiting for the city to fix the thing, he grabbed a snow shovel and started shifting gravel from the side of the road into the holes and moving, all of this stuff from the ditches and the sides of the road and just filling the holes with dirt from the side of the road. And passing traffic was packed. They would pack it in as they're driving over. They'd pack it down. And he said it was significantly better than it was before he started. And it turned into quite a thing. Local police had warned Mr. McHugh that if he didn't stop his mission, that he could be charged.
Why?
Because what he was doing wasn't legal, apparently. Civilians who fill in potholes without a permit could be charged anywhere from $200 to $2,000.
Oh, my gosh.
Despite these warnings, he showed up with a snow shovel in hand day after day. And he says, I hope they don't come and get me until I'm done with this, because he was on a mission to get this thing done. Well, people were stopping, and they were giving him tips. They were giving him, he said, some even gave me joints, but they were bringing him coffee and all kinds of different things. So, again, the dude was out there just filling in potholes. I think that's really cool.
I think it's great.
And I also understand where the police are coming from, saying, "Hey, you can't have some dude
Right.
just
I mean,
standing
they
in the
have
road."
they have a way that they need to be filled
But
to make sure the road is maintained
I thought it was a
properly.
cool story. I've got a link to the story in the show notes at johnandheidishow.com. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show.